I goofed up. I was on the wrong monitor with my mouse. Anyway, everybody, welcome Paranormal Nation Radio. It's not so normal as you can tell. Usually we're up on the screen.
Well,
Oh,
it's one of those days. So we want
it
everybody
is.
out there that's in a storm area to be prepared to take shelter, especially you guys up there in Iowa. Know that
Yep.
it's not safe up there, and there's all kinds of stuff already going on. Parts of Illinois got hit today,
Mm-hmm.
and we're in the zone for today and tomorrow.
I know.
So
For tonight and tomorrow, we are.
mhm. Ours is
So,
like around 1 o'clock in the morning.
yep, that's when ours is.
So I
So,
moved the car up and got it ready to go into the garage should I need to do that. And because we spent a lot of time this weekend cleaning out or moving from point A to point B in the garage. We have got a pile of trash taller than me, ready to go out on the big pickup on the last Saturday of April. Yep, they have a. So every April we have a citywide cleanup. So
right.
I'm taking off that whole week of that so that I can do everything that I can do, so I don't have to rent a thing.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to do that.
No,
We've been filling up our little dumpsters every week,
I
to the
know.
hilt, just trying to get rid of stuff. You know,
I know the feeling. I've been
yeah,
cleaning up around here and trying to get things set up better and one thing after another. But hello,
yeah.
Nigel, and thanks for sharing it to your group page.
So So tonight we're going to have some guests eventually. Right now we're waiting on a couple of them to show up. If they do, great. If they don't, you know what? We'll just keep on going. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
things happen all the time, and we'll figure it out. Hey there, Jacqueline
Yeah,
and
hi,
Nigel.
Jacqueline.
So I was alluding yesterday to something I wanted to share. So we've been going through the mortgage process, which we haven't had to do in 20 some odd years.
Mm-hmm.
And this house is paid off, so it's a whole different. It's different than it was back then.
Right.
So I got everything done, got it all sent in, and they called me yesterday to tell me that Ron is dead. Your husband has been reported deceased. And I said, well, why would they call you before they call me? That's first.
Yeah.
And I said, but he looked fine when he went to work this morning. I said,
Uh-huh.
if he knew he was dead, I said, I bet you he'd been more than willing to stay home today. And so I call Ron and I tell him, and of course they send me an email, and I have to call all the credit bureaus
Right.
to find out on which one he was reported dead to. And of course, TransUnion was first, or not TransUnion. LexisNexis was first, and they're going, we don't see anything. I was like, okay, so I go through the others, and I can't. That nobody finds anything, and I just look at Ron and I go, I told you I see dead people.
I was getting ready to say something about that when you said, no, if he was dead, he'd be chewing my ear out right now.
Oh, so yeah, it was. So I ended up having to spend a bunch of time calling all these places, and I had to call the mortgage company back and go that he's not been reported deceased to
Do you
anyone.
want to do a live video so you can see him?
The thing is it's the report. They have to get it off the record. Whatever record.
I'm a hologram.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a hologram.
Yeah.
So
You're looking pretty good for a Walking Dead man.
I told.
Well, you know what? I started getting calls
You
Today.
did?
for credit cards and mortgage.
Did you tell him you was dead?
No, they said now that you're back alive, now we can get a hold of you.
So
So I found out how to get rid of them. You keel over
Mm-hmm.
or play dead.
Yep.
So yeah, and my title is finally coming for my car.
Where's our guest?
It's been paid off since 2019.
I was going to say, it's finally coming.
Your
Yeah.
car? Oh,
Yeah.
What took it so long?
The loan
Kansas.
company,
Idiots.
well, because they keep the titles electronically, the lender never released the lien. The funny thing is, okay, I don't know if it's the lender or where we bought the car, because every car we've bought used, no
Right.
issue. New cars we bought from McCarthy Hyundai happened both times. The 2007 and the 2017 Hyundais. Different lenders. So I sent in the paperwork today. They told me I should get my title within the next 2 weeks. So guess what? After we get moved, we may be getting rid of the blue lemon. So I don't know.
Yep. And get you another.
Hey, here's
Honda.
Irene.
Hi,
Nigel.
Irene. How you
Jacqueline.
doing?
Gary. Irene, we haven't seen her in a while.
No.
I know. It's so good to see all of you out there.
Yeah.
If you guys have any
it's great
questions
to
for us,
see you.
please put them in the chat. But yeah. it's been yesterday was definitely
I'm leaning over again.
here.
That's good. That's good. I'll
There.
lean the whole thing.
Yeah, yesterday was it was a Monday.
Hey,
So
It was a Monday.
doing haunted houses.
well, good for you, Irene. So
And like I said, everybody, we're in weather conditions, bad weather conditions for
Yeah,
tonight
you-
and tomorrow, because it's 85 degrees up here.
oh yeah.
Right. We're like 87.
Yeah.
So it's not
But yeah, you got a chance of stuff. It's more to the east of us.
Mm-hmm.
last I saw.
Well, the
like,
east part of Missouri already got some today.
Yeah, they
It
got-
went up through Columbia and heading on up that
Yeah,
way.
Boonville, and between Rockport and Boonville, got a tornado.
Yeah.
Ron's niece, our niece Taylor, they live in Columbia. They were house sitting for their boss. Guess what? The house has no windows now.
Oh,
And that wasn't today. This was for over the weekend that it happened.
that's called air conditioning.
Uh,
Yeah, they boarded up. They had hail. I forgot how big it was, but it knocked every window out.
Well, you look at that tornado that hit down there in Arkansas the
Oh
other
man,
day. It
wind.
wiped out that town.
Yeah,
They showed when they first got there, the news people were there showing a house
yeah,
that was completely almost leveled.
I know.
Semi truck sitting out in front. The guy had just got home. The only thing that happened to the semi, it blew out the front windshield.
Yeah,
thank God.
The rest of everything around there was crushed and smashed and thrown.
I
They
don't
had
know.
Jeeps out in a cornfield upside down.
I don't know how they didn't lose more people on that tornadoes that were going through Arkansas and Illinois. And
Well,
man, those
the
are-
early warning system that we have in place now plays a lot in that role.
well, they have no basements down there.
I know it.
That doesn't help.
That same way here. We don't have a basement. So I go, okay, we're riding it out in the center of the house.
Right.
That's one of the things I'm having to look at these houses down there. One of the things I did research was the military utilizes Elgin as their stepping off point for hurricane research.
Right.
So if they say, hey, get the hell out, we got to go.
Right.
If they're saying it, because
Yeah.
that's where the hurricane planes are flying out of. And I didn't know that. I do now.
I did.
I don't know if I'd want to be in a basement during a hurricane or not. Because if
I have
there's a
story
lot of
about-
water coming across the ground,
Right.
you're lower than the ground.
Yeah,
I
they
go,
don't have basements. I'm sure. Yeah,
Yeah, they're
because of the earthquakes.
So in Utica, okay, you've met Dan and
Yeah.
Scott and all them. In
Mhm.
Utica, they're investigating this location there. And when we were there, they asked me anything. And I said, well, there's this guy named Larry. I said, he just keeps showing up and moving stuff around. I say, he hangs out at the bar.
Mhm.
And we didn't know who he was. Neither did they. They just knew that they kept seeing this guy in the bar that was a spirit. they kept moving things around. You know, I didn't know this.
They thought he might have been a former patron that liked it there,
but Ron
no.
and Scott, I think it was, went down to, there's a memorial down the street from a hurricane or a tornado that came through that wiped out some of the old buildings there in Utica. This guy,
we didn't know. We just went for a walk, you know, just checking out the downtown. It's a neat little downtown, and we're just.
Okay, they're froze up. So we'll wait and see. But we are waiting on guests. You guys froze up for about 15 seconds there.
Yeah, I know. But it was a memorial for the people they had lost during this tornado. And it was what?
11 people.
Yeah, 11 people. But they were down. They were near the creek.
They were actually in that building.
They were in the building. But this building is by this creek. And it's a big, well, I guess a small river. But it overflowed and flooded. It basically drowned them.
Ooh.
I mean, they didn't get killed by the tornadoes. They got, you know, the water level came up.
Yeah. Drowned them in the basement.
They couldn't get out.
So, yeah, I mean, you run a risk no matter what.
You do. You got to figure out every part of the country has something different.
Yeah.
That the weather can kill you in one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
we just happen to be in Tornado Alley.
Yeah. See, that's one of the things I told the kids. I said, you have at least 3 to 4 days notice of a hurricane. You know, at the least. At the most, you have 7 days. So if they're saying get out, get out, get out, get out, you know, that's all you do. But only 58
crazy
tornadoes or hurricanes have hit that area. So, because I looked it up. So over Hurricane 2 has hit that area since they've been keeping records.
Oh, really?
So only 58. And in those 58, there were tornadoes that spun up in the aftermath. So you only have 58 reported tornadoes. So I figure I'm
basically from a hurricane.
Right. And so
you're still better off because you have several hundred in Kansas and Missouri.
Yeah. I mean, hell, we had few just the other day. But
the other day, that storm that went across the southern part through Arkansas and there, they had 47 different tornadoes.
Yeah, in southern Kansas.
So needless to say, we know that we're all risk something to live anywhere. The only thing we can do is be educated on what to do, where to do it, and how to be prepared.
And like you said, down there, you get several days advance warning of a hurricane. So you're prepared for the aftermath. Up here, you're lucky if you get
5 minutes.
Yeah, you're real lucky if you get that.
Those tornadoes that hit down there last week, they didn't have much time at all.
They had 2 to 3 minutes, if that.
It was fast.
So.
Yeah, that thing is moving 70 miles an hour.
Well, you look at how many's hit Fort Worth area this year.
Oh, yeah.
There. I mean, every time a storm pops up, they're running to Fort Worth. Where was Mike and Susan? They went to Fort Worth.
They went to Fort Worth a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, they were down there for something else, and it just hadn't. They lucked out that it ended up hitting where they live as opposed to where they were.
Right. But they were going down storm chasing. That's what they told us on that show.
Yep. Well, I think they were hoping to, and it just missed them because they.
Right.
Well, I kept telling them, I said, yeah, you ought to, you know, I want to go down to Arkansas. It looks like that just straight south, but they were going for Glenn Beck's thing anyway.
Oh, were they? Yeah, that's right. They were, weren't they?
So, but yeah, it's just like
hang around Dallas long enough, you'll see plenty of tornadoes.
Oh yeah,
Oklahoma City's probably worse.
Go north of Dallas a little ways, and you're going to see a lot up towards Oklahoma.
Norman, Oklahoma City. Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, one point in time we were looking to move to near Dallas. You know, Paradise, Denton, Sherman, Denison.
Yeah.
We were looking to move down there.
We almost did.
Yeah.
A couple times.
And
really?
Yeah.
I was actually given a scholarship to some college down there and said, nah, can't do it. But it was.
Yeah. One time she could transfer and I couldn't, I couldn't find anything, job decent.
Mm-hmm.
Then next time I got something decent and she couldn't find anything.
Yeah. It just wasn't meant to be. But they get shit weather down there.
Yeah, but this way you guys are going to be moving down by your kids, and your other kids are going to be moving down there too. So the whole family will be around you.
Yep. And I can't wait to plan that first Sunday
family get together.
Mm-hmm. Something soft, I guess, for Nolan.
He'll be toughened up by the time you get down there.
No, well, we'll be down there on Saturday.
Well, yeah, you'll be down there next Saturday.
So
he just got the family
luck
history of dental abuse.
Dental abuse, broken bones, all that. They got
paranoid of dentists.
Mm-hmm.
Starting from when we were babies.
All of us.
Oh man.
So, but I don't know. But like I said, everybody be weather aware. Whether you're watching this live right now or anytime, be aware of what's going on around you, because those sirens, you can't hear them in the house.
Exactly.
At least not if the wind's blowing that.
Yeah, I especially with the traveling I do, I have to pay a lot of attention. I've had to outrun a lot of tornadoes.
I wish you'd had cell phones back then, only because you could have at least been warned.
I can tell. I mean, I can look at the sky. It's just I don't know. There's some mornings, you just kind of feel it in the air, and it's like, it's not going to be a good one.
Well, that's just like our temperature tonight. I think at 1 o'clock is supposed to be 64 degrees.
Yeah.
And by 2 o'clock, it's supposed to be 46.
Yep.
Yeah. Ours changed to midnight now. Is when it's supposed to hit us is around midnight.
Right.
So,
and thank everybody over there on Rumble. We got 5 people on Rumble watching us right now. So.
Howdy ho, Rumble.
Hello,
Rumble
everybody. Buddy. And you can comment in the chat room. I can bring it over and put it in our chat room and show it on the show. So if you have any questions over on Rumble to ask us, please put it in the live chat.
Yeah, I'm more than willing to answer any question you got.
Right.
So, yeah, it's saying midnight for us. It'll be 68, and at 1, it'll be 54.
Right.
So that's when we're going to be most worried.
And we're just waiting on our guests to show up. So
yeah, one's driving home from work in California.
That could take a while.
She said she should be here in a bit, but the other one I haven't heard from. So, whatever. If anybody has any stories they want to share, you can share them with us. But I tell you, last night's show was really good.
It was. It was a completely different Paranormal Pride show.
It was fun, and I think we're going to have a few spinoffs from that one with Farrah when she's ready to come back after we do our homework. So
yeah, she has a lot of knowledge about,
because you had several viewers on the Facebooks and YouTube on here, and then you had 12 to 15 people watching on Rumble at the time. So.
And I know that some people may have been maybe offended, and it's just where people are entitled to their opinion, and it's not up to me.
They got to get to know Farrah. Farrah is loud and voice everything out. She's not afraid. She speaks her mind, and that's great.
It is. I mean, that's what you want. You want somebody that's not going to candy coat the truth, or at least what she feels is the truth. It just is what it is, and knowing that she was there. We got one of our guests is here.
Hey, they showed up.
Her name is Chanel Fletcher, and I can't wait to talk to her. Find out what she wants to share with us. You ready?
Yep.
Oh,
good enough.
Did you just wake up?
No, I'm getting my hair back.
Oh,
awesome.
Great. I'm glad. How are you feeling?
Today's a good day. Some days are not. But I'm all excited. My hair's back, and I don't want to cut it, even though I look like a porcupine.
You know what? I think you look beautiful, and
Yes.
I'm glad to see that you're feeling so much better because you're recovering from cancer, right?
I have multiple melanoma. Yeah, I had stem cells a year ago on the 6th, and I lost every stitch of hair on my body. I got eyebrows back. I got eyelashes back. And my hair.
Awesome.
Oh,
That is fantastic.
They had to take this part of my bone out and take the tooth out because there was cancer in this bone, and it's just one thing, little thing after another, you know.
Did they?
But I'm here.
Yes, you are, and you know I'm so happy you are.
Yeah, melanoma. That's
deadly.
That's no joke.
Yeah.
I can hope for remission. There is no cure.
Yeah.
Right.
We've been told that by a lot of people. Is there any advice you can give to someone to maybe keep them from getting melanoma?
No.
No.
They don't know how I got mine.
Yeah, they don't know.
I have my melanoma is in my bones.
Ooh.
Ooh, it's in my bones, and my blood.
Okay.
So it's everywhere for me. But I don't know. If you stay positive and you look for the better things, I think you can stay ahead of a lot of it. The pain is the worst part because you never know if you're going to wake up with unexplainable pain. And because your bones become very hollow like a bird's bone, and from the lesions, that's what they call them, and it makes everything brittle. I feel like Bruce Willis in that movie where he's made it, where the
Unbreakable,
where who was it that played the bad guy?
Oh, I was talking about that last night.
It's a black guy,
I never
very
saw
famous
Denzel?
American actor.
No, it wasn't Denzel Washington. It was
no. Look, Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah. Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
I think
he plays good parts.
I'm more.
And he's like he breathe on him and he breaks a bone.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel some days. I broke both shoulders now. I have a hairline fracture and 2 ribs. I have a broken right hip socket. So you know where the ball of your socket goes into your hip? Mm-hmm. Right where that ball is at that point. Mm-hmm. Yep. Somehow I did it. They don't know. And when I broke the socket, I also bruised my buttocks. And they give you buttocks physical therapy.
Really?
Really?
So
I didn't know that.
Open and close? Is that what they do?
Pretty much. And they roll your hips and the stuff you take for granted. Yeah, they make you do it.
Oh.
Okay.
And it was Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson. Okay.
Yeah, he's the one that all of his bones are breaking, and Bruce Willis was unbreakable.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that movie last night. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, so we're going to be going through a few of those with Farrah Rose on like, can demons do that and things like that. So it's just funny that you should bring that movie up. So
when I had because my cancer treatment caused me to have strokes. I've had 2 now. I had one on October 5th and October 10th. When I fell on my face, I broke this tooth. And they thought all I did was break the tooth. So they were just going to pull that little tooth out because I only had a little nub of it left. But when they went in there and they were rooting around to take the tooth out, they're like, "There's something wrong here." And when they took the pictures, you know how they do that when you go in for the dentist. Mm-hmm. He's like, "This doesn't look right." And then he pulled the little tooth out, and he's like, "There's something wrong with that bone." And he kind of pushed around a little bit, and the next thing you know, he pulled out the bone.
So you broke the bone in there as well.
Yeah. Yep.
It's strange that you should say that too, because my poor little grandson just had to hold him down to pull his tooth because he fell 2 days ago and broke it.
Oh, that poor guy. But at least he'll get his back. I'll have this grin for the rest of my life.
It's a beautiful grin.
Yeah, he's only 2, so yeah, but it's just I just cried so much for him today, knowing that he was in so much pain.
My baby sister, she did that when she was 2 too. And she crushed all the top upper teeth when they were just breaking the skin. Oh. And when they finally did grow in, they were all black. All of them.
So she killed the baby teeth. So she killed their baby teeth even before, or was that her adult teeth that she killed?
Her babies.
Yeah.
So she had black teeth from a little tiny thing until she was 6 or 7 when she started losing them. There's nothing they can do about it, you know, when you smash your mouth like that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All he had left was like a sliver of his tooth, and he wouldn't eat or drink anything. So hopefully tonight he'll eat and drink.
Well, I hope so.
So otherwise they're taking him to the ER for an IV. So
make it fun for him. That's how you trick him into do it. You got to make it a game.
Just show him ice cream. He'll eat.
Yeah. Melt some ice cream.
I think that they'll probably take him down to the donut hole because he loves that place down in Destin.
Yep.
So
make it a game and see who can eat the smallest piece. Yeah. And go from there.
Oh, right. I lose.
Comes ice cream up. Whole thing's in there.
Yep, exactly. Same thing. Donut holes too.
So where do you live?
I'm in the cold place called Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
She's not too far from April. My cousin lives in Little Chicago, near Wausau.
Yeah, I know where that is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've been through there. They have there's a nice pizzeria down there.
She lives right next door to a bar. That's all we know.
Oh.
That, and if you see her out, she's got 7 sons with her.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, whoa, yeah.
She just kept having boys?
Yeah. I don't know if they
were she crazy like my grandma was? My grandma went six girls in a row and finally had a boy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she went 6 girls. They wanted a boy, and they kept trying, and they finally had a boy, and then they had 3 boys.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah, it is.
Just like your family.
Yeah. I had 4 girls and quit.
My dad said 3 strikes and you're out in every ball game.
That's right.
That's all he got was girls. So the last one, they made sure they named her with his initials. So can at least feel like he got something out of it.
Yeah.
So.
He got the pleasure of making them.
He's got grandsons now.
What?
At least
he's got the pleasure of making them.
Yeah. My dad would have had, actually, he would have had some grandsons. He would have had 3. My sisters all had boys.
Is there somebody in the mirror behind you?
It's the curtain
blowing.
Oh,
we got the windows open. It's
the
100 mile an hour winds blowing through.
It is freezing cold here. They're calling for snow tonight.
And they're calling
We're calling for tornadoes.
Yeah, we're like 80.
87.
80. Yeah, we're 81 now.
Well, aren't they calling for that deep snow up there this time through there too? Some places going to get 12 inches or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, up further than me. They're predicting 3 or 4 here. I don't want any of it.
That's a dusting for you.
That's like us. We don't want the tornadoes, but we're in the path. We're in for it tonight sometime.
Let's see.
The 2 tornadoes I was in, I slept through both of them. Didn't even know it happened. The trailer was picked up and everything. I slept right through it.
Well, that's good. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I was just a little kid for that one, but I was a teenager for the next one, and all I remember is it sounds just like a freight train going through the house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
I've actually seen 7 tornadoes. Witnessed.
Yep.
Wait, are you one of those storm chasers?
No, he's a
wrong place at the wrong time.
He's a storm finder. They find him.
Oh.
So,
well, she was working in town one time, and I was watching the one that was about to hit her building. I said, "Go downstairs because it's headed your way." She goes, "How do you know?" I said, I'm on the highway. I'm watching it."
And I knew because they had already sounded all the sirens, and I was in the building telling people to get down the damn stairs.
Yeah, I was watching the thing go all the way over.
So I wanted to ask you before we bring up our next guest. You're very well, before you got sick, you were doing stuff in the paranormal, weren't you?
I still do, even do it though I'm sick. Now I do stuff behind the scenes. And I help people that are having problems with like bad energies and stuff like that. And I help run a program with a really great psychic, a real psychic, you know.
Well, you know what? I want to hear more about that. And I want you to stay on. Don't leave. I want to bring up Cindy. She's going to come on. Cindy Ann Good. I can't see her name on here. Cindy Ann. Well, just bring her up. I'll let her in.
Cindy Ann Fletcher. Yeah.
No.
Another Fletcher?
No.
We know
she got me confused at the beginning of the show. Cindy, your mic is muted.
Yep.
Here, let's see here.
Can you?
I don't think we can. It's on her end.
Yep. You have to unmute yourself, sweetheart.
Hit the mic button that's crossed.
Yep, you got to hit the mic again. Where it says mic, camera, chat. There you go.
And Cindy, I can't see your last name on here right now.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
You keep me. Kind of. You're coming and going.
Kind of cutting in and out.
She's not getting a real good signal.
Yeah. So, can you go out and come back in?
Oh, there she is.
Yeah, that was perfect. Can say something else again so we can test your mic.
Yes, I'm gonna come back out and come back in.
Okay.
I'm
gonna.
Yeah.
Sometimes going out and coming back in is great.
A lot better.
They reset their microphone that way.
Say hi, Michael.
Aw.
This is Michael the Archangel. Have we ever met him before?
No.
I know I've seen him on some of. You used to do a lot of live feeds because didn't you used to do crystal shows?
I still do those. I didn't do it this week because of Easter week, and my son's off from school, and it was a lot to do, and I try to conserve as much energy as I can because 4 hours and I need a 6-hour recharge.
Yeah.
Just like a Tesla.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Okay.
I wish I was as rich as a Tesla, but
okay.
Hey, baby.
Apparently we did it at the same time.
We did exact same time.
Now that's actually a much better picture too.
Yeah, better picture.
Yeah, that's a real good picture.
Ooh, yeah, you come in brighter there.
Yeah. So I'd like.
Can y'all hear me?
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
This is Cindy.
Okay, so
this is Chanel.
I had to get off my laptop. I don't know, it's storming here, kind of, and so I just put it on my phone and I took off my headphones because for some reason I can't link my headphones to my phone. I don't know why. So y'all can hear me good?
Oh yeah,
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So
you're not frozen.
No, and I'm grateful that you got here, and I can't wait to hear your story. I'm going to find out from Chanel. She's just said that she does stuff with a real psychic. Who's your real psychic?
Joni Mitchell.
Okay.
Out of Canada. We've been friends for a few years, and she asked me to help her host her show, and next thing I know, I was doing it every week, and then I got really sick with the cancer, and now I don't do it every week, but I try to get part of her show every week.
Oh, okay.
And most of the people just are excited I'm in the audience.
I'm excited that you're feeling good enough to talk to us tonight.
I've been looking forward to this all day, but my little boy came home and he was hungry, and I'm like, "What do you want to eat?" He wants a cheeseburger from the drive-in because it just opened. So I'm like, well, then we have to go now because once it gets dark, I can't drive because I'm blind in this eye from the stroke.
Oh.
And I won't drive at night because I have very piss poor vision now.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
Mm.
The cancer caused the stroke, so.
That's what you said. And
right.
And so how often are you doing your crystal shows now?
Up until now, I was doing it once a week for 2 to 3 hours a night. And then I would crash for 12 hours. And by then, because my best friend since I was in the 8th grade is my accountant. And she writes up all my invoices for me, so I don't have to type anymore because the letters on those keyboards are really tiny. And I was making so many mistakes when I would type. So she started doing it for me, and it works out.
Perfect.
And
so I want to tell you guys something about Cindy. She is telling me the reason that I wanted to have her on is she is a Bigfoot experiencer. And I can't wait to hear about that.
Where are you? Really? You're in California, right?
Cindy?
No, I am in North Idaho.
Idaho.
Okay.
Oh, you're neighbors. I know
Where
lots of people in Idaho.
Where are you out of again?
She's in Wisconsin. We're in Kansas for now.
And I'm in Missouri.
Yeah. We're in
okay. I thought Chanel had said we were neighbors.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, you're on the northern.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Closer to me than Missouri is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Yes, I am a experiencer or extended experiencer, researcher / all of the above. I have been doing this since 1999. I saw the Patty film when I was a child, and after that, I just never forgot about it. I didn't have any kind of experience until after I started researching, which is 1999. I was living in Texas at the time. That's where we're from. And I researched for a couple of years with some of the great people out of the Big Thicket and in Southeast Oklahoma. And then we moved to North Idaho in 2004. And I have to tell you, it is so different, the experiences that I started out with and my mentality and where I am today. Because for years, I didn't know what they were. I was just curious. And so I learned a lot. I learned some tracking skills. I learned a lot about the phenomena itself. I learned that there's different types. Some have five toe prints. And in the South, some people have reported 3. So it all really just depends. Well, like I was telling you, my husband is Army retired. He did 25 and a half years. But in 2004, we got moved up here to North Idaho. So my kids were little. There were 2 and 8, 2 and 9, I think. And so I moved up here on a house in the woods at the bottom of a mountain called Hoodoo Mountain, Hoodoo. I kid you not.
That's an old name.
Yes, and I told my husband I did not, because we were looking for a house. I stayed back in Dallas to finish out my career. And he came up here to look for a house because we had horses and everything. So when we came up here, the first couple of years, I heard him. See, once you know, they know that you know, period. And so I tried to avoid having to deal with it because there was so much going on in the military, and I was trying to do like family support. And I had enough on my plate with all of that. And then I had a lot of things happening, like I was hearing the noises up on the mountain, and I knew what those were. I found horse feed gone, missing. My horses had been messed with. I found tracks on my property. I could hear them out in the woods trying to get my attention. And so I started experiencing a lot of things, and then it got a little crazy with paranormal stuff. So in the Sasquatch world, you're going to have people that are flesh and blood somewhere in the middle, and then what they call the woo. And I don't like that word because it's usually used in like when people are making fun of anyone who has experiences like me. What I've done a complete how I think, how I feel about the whole topic. So I was home alone quite a bit, and I had a series of events that were in my face because I was not open to anything paranormal. I was not open to, because I was raised in a strict Catholic home. And then after that, my family, some were non-denominational and Mormon. But I mean, it doesn't matter really what religion. You know, I was raised like, don't watch those haunted shows or you're going to bring it home. Don't mess with anything of that sort. So when I say a couple of events that happened, one day I would take the kids to the bus stop. Well, my older son, like in 2005, I would leave here the house at 6:30 because the bus gets here very early, like 6:40, which I thought was kind of crazy. But so I'm on a private road, and it's not like I have a county road in front of me. I mean, it's pretty remote, and I have to go down this like 2 forest roads, and that's where the bus comes. So on this one morning, for example, I was down 20 acres. I'm on 5.5 acres. So I was going to the bus stop, and I had a flat tire. So I pulled over, and I told the kids to run to the bus stop. I got the neighbor kid, and I said, y'all got to run to the bus stop because I'm not going to make it there. And so it was no big deal. It was dark, and I was feeling really weird. You know, I watched them run to the end of the block, and I stood there. Okay. So I'm down on 10 acres that's undeveloped, and it's all woods. Everything around here is woods. Okay. So after I saw them turn that corner, I was like, okay. I started walking home, and I'm going to tell y'all, if I can't see it, I don't want to have nothing to do with it. Something called my name, or like the end of my name. And I turned around and I looked in the woods, and there was, of course, I saw nothing, but I wasn't too afraid. I was a little freaked out. So I just stared in the woods, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm hearing things. So I walked home. And then some other things that would happen are I found tracks, and there was like 3 and they would just vanish into thin air. And I would be like, what the heck? And I called my son out, my older son. He's 27 now. He was 9 at the time. I think he's 27. So, we're talking a long time ago, 2004 or 5. And I called him outside and I said, John, I want you to see these trucks, and my kids, oh man, it's really snowing. My kids have seen the tracks before, at least my oldest. And he saw the tracks, and I was like, so I covered up the tracks because it was going to rain. And then a couple of days later, I uncovered them. I wasn't casting. I wasn't trying to, prove anything, measure, I wasn't trying to get lab samples or nothing like that. I was just trying to figure out what was going on, because I thought if I just ignored it, it would just go away. But it didn't go away, and things were ramping up. I uncovered those tracks, and then it rained. And then, over time, they were gone. And I also have a ton of pine needles that just fall all over the place. So sometimes it's hard to get tracks unless you kind of have to clean up something if you find it. I found tracks in the snow. I could hear them howling off in the mountains. And sometimes how it works is because I will be outside for hours on end. I started paying attention to what was going on, and then I bought some recorders. So I was putting out the recorder on my front porch or on my back porch, and I got some interesting audios. But I also got indie chanting, and I'm like, okay, what is that? It sounded like a war party. Yeah. And this area here is very, very famous for the Nez Perce and the wars that went through this area in the pioneer days. And the town that I live in is it's pretty remote. And it's also I have a store, a bar that's closed, a post office, and everything around me is mountainous, state land, or just private company land. So it's it's not like in Texas where 98% of the state is privately owned. And I've rode my horses all up and down Hoodoo. So a lot of things have happened, but the other events, the tracks disappearing, no explanation. I was hearing things in the woods, I would be outside working, and then, they would start breaking stuff in the woods, and I would just be like, okay, I hear you, but I don't see you. And then, so if I acknowledged them, they would stop. So I figured out that they wanted to be acknowledged. Okay. So then I figured out when I went across the street, the property across the street is 10 acres, and then there's a power line road, and then it starts going up the mountain. So one time I took off on my horse, and I tried to, not my horse, my four-wheeler, and I tried to cut through the property so I could go straight up the mountain, but I couldn't get through because it's kind of flat, and then it goes down, and it kind of goes kind of in a holler, I guess, or a small hill, and then it goes, and I could not get through there. So I turned around, and then I had this stick come flying by my head, and I heard a crack in the woods, and I turned around in the pasture or in the clearing, and I was looking into the woods, and I could feel something watching me. So I went back on our road, and I went around instead to check out the trail. And, so it was stuff like that was happening that I couldn't explain. And then, so in 2017, I'm going to jump ahead here. My kids are older. My oldest one is gone. He graduated in 2013. 2012, 13. And so he's gone. So now Justin, my younger son, that kid is a beacon of a light. He attracts all kinds of stuff. He's got this energy about him, and it's crazy. he's had some things happen to him, that are crazy, things I never wanted to deal with, but I had to. So I'm hearing things, I'm seeing things. And then finally one day when I thought I had totally lost it, I was filming, and then I saw my dog. She's like a Malamute. She just passed away, but I had it for like 8 or 9 years. And she was sniffing this bush, and it's this, I can't think what it's called, but the moose love it, and the elk, but mainly the moose. So she was going through this bush, and I was outside like an acre over, and I was watching her, and I saw something like move, kind of like if y'all have ever seen that movie, Predator. Is it Predator? Where the alien is like, he's there, but he's like transparent, like he's kind of changing. Okay, so I saw something, but it wasn't like clear, like kind of like when you see something with your side vision. And I remember looking, and my dog just like lay down in the middle of this bush, and I'm like, Star, get out of the bush. And she started doing her woo, 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 like that. And I was like, so something was going on. So I just got my camera and I started trying to film it. Mm-hmm. Now, y'all, I saw a Sasquatch sitting there, and I was just like, okay. I could see the outline of its back, and then I kind of moved like this with my phone, and I could kind of see half of the profile. And I watched my dog. She got up, and I stopped filming, and then it got up and it kind of like just walked away, I guess, but I didn't see it walk away. I couldn't see it any longer. When I was looking at it from the side, it kind of looked like it had something inside of its mouth. I don't know. I was too freaked out because I didn't believe in that. I just believed in, if you see it, you see it. If you don't, then it's something else. So I went in the house, and my dog wanted out. And then my lab took off over there to where that bush was. And then I saw some pine cones being tossed. And I was like, who's throwing the pine cones? It was like, where are they coming? It was like they were coming out of, I couldn't tell which direction.
So in that case, I would ask, do you think that he was cloaked?
Oh, yeah, hands down. I saw it with my own eyes. And I went in the house and I rewatched the video, and I sent it to a friend. I sent it to like 4 or 5 people. And 2 people could see it clearly, and the other 3 couldn't.
Right.
Yeah. And the other 3 that couldn't see it, of course, they gave me a hard time about it because they were my friends that are strictly flesh and blood. And now what's funny is that those same people now can see some of what I'm seeing, but I'm on a higher level now of clarity because I'm so awake. I'm seeing so much stuff, like what's happening in the world, the things that are wrong, the things that are right. It's like, it's kind of like being on a higher plane. My friend described it being like going into a higher dimension, maybe. I don't really know about all that. But so after that, I had to accept that there's more to this than just something being there in the flesh. And so I started recording, and I asked them if I could have their, any noises that they make, if it was okay, if I could put out my audio. And for 4 years, I got some really good audios. I have one of what I call like the sentinel, like the lookout, because I will make coffee and I will go outside in wintertime, and it's really cold here, and the snow, just like in November, it starts snowing, sometimes in October, but it doesn't usually like stick. So I will be outside, and on this one morning, it was 2017, because my younger son, Justin, was, I think, 14 or 15, and he was taking driver's ed. This is how I have to think back. So I was outside, and it was like 6:20 a.m. And my husband would leave for work. He's Army retired, but he was a private investigator, and so he would leave to go to work at different times. So on this morning, it was Valentine's Day, February the 14th, 2019. That's right. It was 2019. I was outside, and all of a sudden I heard this, like, not a moan, but like their morning alert noise, like rounding up the other ones and saying, all right, it's time to go. So it wasn't anything alarming or anything loud and angry. It was just like a siren sound. And I have that audio. I didn't even think about sending any of those to y'all. And I've had that cleaned up by like professional, what's the term? Not audiologists. Like people from Finding Bigfoot. I forgot that guy's name. He's looked at some of my audios, and I've had different people of significance listen to a lot of my audios. And so that was on Valentine's Day, like around 6:20 a.m. in 2019.
So was it Matt Moneymaker?
No. He's a friend of mine, but he's with the BFRO. But no, I don't really do anything with the BFRO because they don't really want to hear anything paranormal, and I don't. I have to work with people that are going to take me seriously.
So what do you think it is? Is it flesh and blood, or you think it's more paranormal?
I think it's both. They have capabilities. Oh, okay. So, like, for example, in the South, I don't think that they can do like what the ones up here can do. The ones up here, my clan up here, they are ancient. They have higher capabilities of things that they can do. When I'm down in Texas, if I'm out on an expedition, it's hard for me to get into it because in Texas, the only thing I've experienced is only being flesh and blood. I've seen them down in Texas, like in flesh and blood. I've never had any kind of paranormal experience being down in Texas. And I've gone back a couple of times because we go back with Snowbird. I actually just got back from Texas, but I didn't go to do any Bigfoot stuff. I had to go to, I was gone for like 7 or 8 weeks to go to 2 family funerals. So, and with all the snow and everything, we just stayed down there and visited family. And, but I did not do anything Bigfoot related. But there's different types, and they look different. Like some look like Patty, some have more like a snout. Some look more man-like. Some look more like an ape, I guess. There's just different types. But my clan up here is very active, and some will migrate because they're active all year long. But in wintertime, I have heard that moaning in the morning a couple of times. I have heard them experience some kind of
why? What do you got?
Loss. And I've heard them howling out there. I've caught howls. I also work with the Colville Nation people, and I work with other tribes that are up here, and with some other. I have friends that are elders, and so I have. I've had so many things happen that this land here is not right. We will perform ceremonies with sound bowls. I've done that 2 times. And the purpose of that, well, my friend did it. I don't know how to do that. What they will do is come in with sage and they will smudge the property. They will use sound bowls. They will clean the land spirits. So there's other things here, not just Sasquatch. There's, I'm trying to think of the word, elementals. There's land spirits.
Right.
There is portals. I have had my property remote viewed by 2 people. One, Jessica Jones. I don't know if y'all know her. She did a whole show on my property.
Yeah.
And she came up with some crazy stuff. And like I said, it's all part of the mix. So I've had to change some things up. I've had to change my mentality. So I approach this now. I approach them with respect. I don't call them the Sasquatch anymore. I call them the forest people. And some people can't handle that. And that's okay, because I can't unsee what I've seen. I can't undo what I've experienced already. And
what's the local people around there in that town close by you? Have they seen them or heard them or?
Oh yeah, I've gotten a lot of reports from some of the locals, some, and then there's the others where, they say, "Oh, you're just chasing nothing," they're not real. I've been a hunter all my life. I've never seen anything. So first off,
everybody says it's a coyote.
Yes, but I have audios where no. I have an audio where they're going off and there's wolves in there, there's coyotes and there's dogs, and then there's the other howling that has been put in against the what's that thing called, where they will look at that frequency level and they will compare it to any known animal out there.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, so I think David Ellis, don't quote me, might have helped with some of my audios, or someone did. And of course I can't remember. So what's out here is a combination of them and all the other stuff that's out there. And I was also told that there is a reason why the Indians from a long time ago called this mountain in their language hoodoo. So the French trappers that were here also, in the next town over, that town is that's actually a bigger town. It's called Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and that means heart of the all or something. So there's a reason that is called hoodoo, and there's a reason that there's a lot of unrest around here. And so I've tapped into that, and I'm trying to kind of figure out what my next step is going to be, because I've had years of where I have a female that comes around. I've named her Keela. I've seen her like a couple of times, but not like where she's super close to me. But I have seen her at night, and I've had some pets that have died, and we bury them, in this area that we call the pet cemetery. And this one night I was at the pet cemetery, which is basically in my backyard at the tree line. So I have a front yard and a backyard, but it's all wooded. So I can feel sometimes when she comes around. And I had this dog. I had 2 dogs that I kept for 2.5 years because our neighbor was in the Army and he had no one to watch his dogs. So I had 5 dogs at one time. I had 3 and then I had his 2. Well, when he came back from Afghanistan, the dog did not want to live with him because she got used to my house. So that depressed him. So I told him, it's not you. She's just gotten used to me. So I started feeding her over there at his house. And then she started staying over there. And then she would come over to my house. And so we kind of just shared her. And then one day she had to have surgery and she died a couple of days later. I could not believe it. After 3 years of having this dog, she passes away. And that was very hard for me. I could not be consoled. I was crying so much. And I was at this grave where she had been buried, and I could hear like a cooing noise. And I looked up and I could feel her. And then she stepped out and she let me see her. Now it was dark, but I could see her perfectly, and I could see her eyes. And her eyes were like red orange. Nothing scary, just kind of, getting a little brighter, not like, really bright, and then nothing like that. Just like she was thinking, and I could just see her eye color. I could feel, it's crazy. The feeling I can't even describe. It's for me only. I can feel when she comes around. I can feel when they come around sometimes. So people have a hard time when I say things like that I can feel. Now, I have other research areas that I go to where we go and do things like ride our dirt bikes or our 4-wheelers. I don't feel that same feeling when I'm over there. I can feel only my clan sometimes, like when they'll come around. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I've just accepted the fact. I'm studying the history of this area. I'm going to be writing a book about, I've called it like the Hoodoo Project. My son, Justin, we also have skinwalkers, I think. And we also have other things like a pterodactyl or a thunderbird. He had something happen with that. My son was camping when he was like 12 and 13, just down the road. And my youngest son, not my oldest. And they took the 4-wheelers and the tents, and he took like 2 friends with him. And I was a little worried, but my husband, those Army guys.
Yep.
He said, you have to let him go camping, because I was really worried. Like, I don't think that's a good idea, but they went camping, and man, the activity started. They heard something walking around at the edge of the water, kind of like where the cattails were growing. And then my son, these are his exact words the next day. He said that he heard a piano land in the shallow water. So whatever it was, it threw like something big into the water. So for the rest of the night, they were hearing noises, and they left the lights on of the 4-wheeler. Instead of calling us, They had cell phones. Instead of calling us, no, they stayed there all night long being scared. And I think they called the sheriff instead of calling us and say, "Hey, Mom, can y'all come and get us?" So I'm hearing about this the next day. So I think my husband had to go and jumpstart the four-wheelers. I don't know. But I was like, oh my gosh, you are kidding me. So now something's following him. So as time went by, he was 13, 14. They have dirt bikes. And we have rules that you cannot go up the mountain. You can only do stay on the bottom. When he was 14, we let him go higher up the mountain because our cell phones were working on top of the mountain. Before, we didn't have good reception out here. So when he was 15, I think, he was camping by himself. I think it was the second time that he camped out by himself. Now, the thing with that is that he asked us if he could camp out on the state land, and we said no, because there's no way for us to get to him at night if we need to get to him, because there's no big enough Jeep trail, and he had the four-wheeler. So we would have to park our vehicle and then hike in. So we said no. He would have to camp out at his normal spot. Well, guess what he did? He did not obey us. He camped out in the area where we told him not to. And the next day, he came home, and I could tell he had something happen to him. He said, "Mom, I was camping alone." And I said, "Where were you camping?" And he said, "I was camping on the state land." And I went, okay. And he said he was in his tent and he heard something heavy walking up to his tent from far away. And then it stopped and it made some noises he described as a pterodactyl. I'm like, what? I was expecting him to say, because the kids have heard all of the Sasquatch noises. So now he's saying a pterodactyl. I'm like, so I played a pterodactyl on YouTube, and he's like, yep, just like that. And then I tried to find a thunderbird sound, but I couldn't find one because I was thinking, well, maybe it's a thunderbird because people have reported, some thunderbirds before. Like in Texas, there was this big bird at one time. And other people across the country have reported seeing thunderbirds and even pterodactyls. So I was like, so he told me the whole story that it came up close to him and then it took off. But when it was leaving, it made this screech noise. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. So he has had other things happen as well, where he's been on his dirt bike and with other friends and alone. And he stopped one time to take a break or, I don't know, get a drink. And he was looking down because he's on this logging road and he's looking down. And yeah, these trees just started shaking. So I started getting really worried and really like I was going to stop. I was going to be done. I called my friend who was a realtor and I said, hey, listen, I think I want to sell my house. And she's like, why? And I was telling her, but some other things had happened. One night my house was slapped and I wasn't even home. Now, my husband is not into this topic. He just doesn't care. So it's not that he doesn't believe. He's had an encounter himself in Southeast Oklahoma on horseback with two other friends. And I was so happy because I wanted him to have an encounter because I was always gone all the time in the South going on expeditions. Even though we lived out in the country on acreage with woods in the backs, but I never, went hiking back there for two reasons. One, I was always going to Southeast Oklahoma or the Big Thicket with the group of people I would hang out with. And then when we moved up here, and then how it turned out to be, all these things happening. And then I was, my son has had some other things happen. But I was telling you a story. So something fell at my house, basically. I had come home at 11:15, and my husband was in bed. It was a Monday night. I'll never forget this. It was a Monday night. It was a Monday before Memorial in May of 2017. 2017 was a crazy year. That is when everything started ramping up, like in my face. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to get this. You're going to discover who we are, and things are going to start falling into place. So my husband got up. I was not home, and he opened up our back door, and he had his rifle, and there was nothing there. Okay. He went back to bed. Well, I came home like half an hour, 40 minutes later, and I was, really tired. My neighbor texted me, and I didn't read the text until the following morning. And my husband did not tell me Monday night what had happened. He waited till the next morning. So Tuesday morning, he looks at me, and I know that look. And he's like, something's at the house. I was like, what? And I was like, where? He said, I was laying in bed, but there was nothing there, and the dogs were fine. And so I ran out to the front because where my bedroom is, my porch is around the corner. So I went around out the front door, and I went around to where I could see my window, but I could see the front, and I didn't see anything like any handprints by my window, and I saw no tracks because of the soil is very sandy, and there was so much pine needles everywhere. And then I looked up, and right there on my front porch where my son sleeps were 3 big handprints. And I saw that, and I went back inside the house, and I told my husband, I said, there's handprints on the house. And he's like, okay, great, fine, whatever. And I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to work. I'm like, you're not leaving me here with this situation. And he made a joke about it. And then I read my neighbor's text, and that is when I just put my foot down. I read the text to my husband, and he's like, maybe it was a bear. And I said, a bear did not leave those prints on the front of the house. And he went and he looked at them, and he said, they're pretty oily. Maybe you can clean them off. I'm like, that's all you have to say. He's like, Cindy, we've lived here for so long now. They're not going to do nothing. And my neighbor had said that, so around midnight, whatever was at my house went through a trail and went through 4 acres and went to my neighbor's house. And his text to me was, hey, just a heads up, my animals are acting weird, okay? I think there's something outside. I think it's a bear. And he said that he described how his birds, he has like these cockatiels, they were going back and forth on their perch. He said his cats were acting crazy. And one feral cat that has never been inside their house was plastered up against their sliding glass door. And he said he opened it up and the cat went running into the bedroom. And he's like, well, that's crazy because the cat never came into the house. So it was later that night that he was in his bedroom. His wife is a nurse, so she goes to sleep early. So it was, I don't know, sometime after midnight. He looked outside and he said he felt something watching him. He has a horseshoe driveway. It's all wooded, that small area. And then his woods are more thicker than mine. So like what he saw, he could see his driveway that goes out. He saw something standing there on two legs, and it had a snout, and it was sniffing the air. And he said he got his pistol, and he looked again, and he kind of went like this, because it went over and it looked at him. And I was like, it had a snout. So now I'm thinking, what is that?
Pigman.
Huh?
Pigman. You know, they talk about dog man, they talk about goat man. Maybe there's a pig man.
Well, the only thing I can think of is dog man, because I actually have I have a story that we're dealing with that right now, me and my one of my research partners. So he said when it looked at him, he just kind of went like this, and he looked back again and it was gone. He said he slept with his pistol all night long. Okay, why did you sleep with your pistol all night long? Okay, so one, he doesn't know that I do this, okay? Because I leave him alone. He's ex-military, and I can't deal with him sometimes. He's a lot of fun to be around with, but then when he gets a streak of like PTSD, I just can't deal with him. It's the way that he talks to people, and I don't have a very good tolerance for that. So I don't see him that often. However, he kept saying snout, and I'm thinking, the heck? So that was that. And then that following weekend, we left to go to Priest Lake, and I have no cell phone service there. We have a toy hauler. So my husband went to work. I'm freaking out, short of crying. I call my friend who's a realtor, and then I call my other friend in Mississippi. And he grew up with the Sasquatch on their farm. Before, like at the turn of the century, his grandfather was a boy. The ranch that he lived on, his dad was there, his grandfather, and then his great grandfather was also, on that property. So we're talking generations of this farm, which was a working farm that had to deal with these. They called them boogers down there in the South. So his grandfather would tell him stories and would say, "Don't go to that part of the property." So Bear was one of my research partners in the South when I first started, and he taught me a lot. He taught me about calls, tracking, and just researching how to cast, just a whole bunch of neat stuff. So I called Bear, and I was talking to him, and I was like, I can't stay here.
Where are you going, Jackson?
So my husband came home that night, and I told him I wanted to sell the house, and he said, "And where are we going to go? The city? I don't think so." I said, "No, maybe we can just buy some land and no woods." He's like, "No, like if you want to move, we're going to move somewhere else, and you're not going to research anymore." And so I was like, "Okay, fine." He said, "You're fine. Nothing happened. Just leave them alone. Like, who cares? Don't worry about it." I'm like, "Oh, easy for you to say." Because they follow me, I'll be on my four-wheeler riding my horse, and they'll throw pine cones at me. I've got a lot of crazy stories. So that point, I just tried to make the best of the situation, and I just tried to turn it off. But there's no way to turn it off when you go outside and they're breaking stuff in the backwoods. So I would just say, okay, I hear you, and then it would stop. So I learned how to acknowledge them, and then they would just stop. And then they'd leave, sometimes they would leave rocks on my porch, or, I never, ever took any food out there. I never did anything like that. I never interacted any more than just acknowledging them. And then also recording them. So my son has had all these encounters. It was in 2019, we had a forest fire, and it was coming over the ridge pretty quickly. And we had to load up our toy hauler and evacuate. The sheriff was 20 acres over, and he told all those people over there, y'all got to go. And it was super windy. We had no power. And that is my first experience having to walk through my house and grab only pictures, computers, papers. I will never forget that feeling. I still get emotional about it because that fear of losing everything, which is really dumb because it's just a house. It can be rebuilt. But memories.
It's the memories. I mean, we just watched all that on TV with all the people who lost their homes and and all the way across the country. And we were talking before you came on. We're in a warning area now.
We're getting some hellacious winds right now.
And we did a little bit ago.
Man,
yeah, it sounds like
we thought it was a truck going down the road.
Yeah, and it's coming from the east, Carl.
Yeah, and y'all got power. That's good.
Well, we don't know what. Yeah, for now.
If it's coming from the east,
don't jinx them.
Yeah, if it's coming from the east here in Missouri, that's not good.
So we do have a question for you, and and this is from Bart, and Bart asks, just a theory here: could Sasquatch possibly be an escaped government experiment or alien beings?
Okay, so with that, I'm going to bring in the topic of Dogman, okay? So, as well as Sasquatch. So, I think there's different types of Sasquatches, okay? I know the ones in the south.
Yeah,
and I think they are on a lower vibrational level. And they are not as ancient as the ones up here where I live. The ones up here can cloak, they can do all kinds of things. I have a dogman around here. And that's a different story I'll tell y'all in a minute. I think that the government does do experiments. For a fact, with Dogman, there is the original Dogman, and then there's the other stuff out there that the government has made. I've heard so many different theories. So I would bet that there is, and the same with the Sasquatch too. There's bad ones as well. They're not all good. So when I say the forest people, and when I do talks, I try to tell people, just because we call them the forest people, don't assume that all of them are going to be nice to you, or that none of them are not going to have any capabilities of doing anything. They can hurt you. And
water.
But I don't like to put that vibe out there. Mm-hmm. But I also want to teach people that if you're going to open up Pandora's box, you need to be careful, because anything is possible.
I want to go home.
I heard.
Now, going back to the Dogman, I was riding my four-wheeler in this area that I go all the time. And one day I took this road that I've never taken before, and I was going slow. I felt pulled in that direction, and I was by myself, and I was not packing, so that was not very smart. But I just figured, it's literally around the corner from where I live, maybe less than a mile away. So I was going down this road, and I looked to my left, and I saw this weird structure. And it looked really interesting. And so I left my four-wheeler on and I got down and I walked over there and I was looking at it and I kind of filmed, and then I heard like a grunt and I felt, okay, I need to go. I could feel they wanted me to go. So I said, okay, I'm leaving. So I hopped on my four-wheeler and I took off, and then I turned my phone on and I was trying to do this with one hand and hold the four-wheeler with my right hand and, and steer. And, but it was, it was too bouncy. So I just put my phone up, sometimes I'll put it here underneath my bra strap, or I'll sit on it because I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. Well, when I got home, I called one of my research partners, and she's Colville Nation. And I sent her the video and she's like, oh, I'm coming over tomorrow. So she came over the next day and we went over there in her Jeep, and she was able to take the Jeep through this path. And I thought, oh, okay, it's just a flat path. It's not going up it's at the foot of the mountain. And we stopped at the structure that I found. And we haven't talked about structures yet, but even on my own woods, like I had to close the blinds because it was too bright. But in my woods, I've got a ton of stuff and it's changing all the time. But we were looking at this structure and then we saw like this path, like a game trail. So we took the game trail and she had some tape that she would tie on a tree, because something else I haven't talked about, you can get delirious. You can walk 10 feet, okay? And they will do their thing. People call it infrasound, whatever. Call it whatever you want. But I have experienced that on my own property. But my partner had this tape, and I was like, why are you? And she's like, trust me. I was like, okay. Because I wasn't really sure, because it's happened to me on my property. But on my property, I would just say,
so
honey, I'm on a show right now. I already got him. Sorry, my husband didn't know I was.
It's okay, because we've got guests that showed up.
Yeah, our daughter really dropped.
Okay,
she asked, and I said she could, because
you're an idiot.
No, Tyler lost his job again.
Yeah, they do this every week.
They do not.
They know we have a show on Monday and Tuesday, yet they do it every week.
There's my Clover.
Oh, what a cutie!
Oh, she is. That's Clover.
Yeah, she just woke up, so she's cranky.
Oh yeah,
like her grandpa.
How cute!
Oh.
But one of the questions, Bart asked another question. He said, "Are Sasquatch sightings close to military bases, and has this been researched?" And I know a friend of ours. His name is Frank J. Bennett, the original FJB, and he wrote a book about the Aberdeen Wildman, which is a government experiment, they believe, out of the Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Baltimore. And so there are some, but we don't know everything that's out there. So,
oh no. So, am I done, or did you all want me to keep talking? I couldn't hear.
Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Because it's hard for me to hear sometimes on my phone, because my laptop, I don't know, I just had bad internet. So my partner came and she tied a spot, and we kept going, and we didn't. It seemed like kind of like when you're going down a hallway and it just keeps stretching out like that. I was starting to feel like a heaviness on me. And I was like, oh, it's hard for me to breathe. And then we stopped, because in front of us was this massive structure. And the way we research is we don't take anything. We don't prove anything. If we cast something, we'll cast it, but we'll say that we're not going to give it away, or we're not going to sell it. We're not going to exploit them. So we found this huge structure, and then we found other structures around. It was like a village. So my research partner ended up calling it the Longhouse. Now, the problem with the Longhouse is that it was very intricate. It was very exciting. What I should have done that I did not is say, we come in peace. May I enter into your home? Or I'm going to enter into, ask respect. But I did not ask. I don't know if she did. I don't remember. And I crawled in, and you could clearly see the opening. I couldn't just walk in. I had to crawl in. And there's pictures of me that she took where I'm in there and I'm sitting, and you can see this intricate thing over me. And then I took photos inside, and then, I took photos of her. I think she was trying to film some stuff. And the next day, she called me and she said, I am so sick. Well, I was going out of town. And then she described to me that she was dizzy. She was delirious. She could not, she was nauseous. She had to lay down. It was bad. And I'm thinking, well, that's crazy, because it happened yesterday. And so I went out of town with my husband, and then I got sick on Saturday evening, and I was falling down. We went to Leavenworth, Washington with some friends, and I could barely walk. I had to sit down. I was shaking. I had never experienced anything like that. And we were sick. She was sick for almost 3 weeks. I was sick for a week and a half. And then it was gone. And when it was gone, we knew it was gone, because it just went away just like that. But she was throwing up. She had it worse than me. And that is when I'm like, wow, we really upset them. Now, we also found big canine tracks. Okay. So that's something new. We found big canine tracks. She did. And she can look at animal tracks, and she can say, oh, that's a beaver. Oh, she's very good at that. And we also found some kind of skull of something canine. And again, she was describing what, maybe this is a coyote, maybe this is a dog, but with everything combined, and as long as we were sick, we have determined, with the work of a shaman who is a friend of ours, and he's very, very, very wise and very smart. He was telling us, and she knows what ceremonies to do as well. And he was saying, there's an ancient being there, and you pissed him off. I was like, oh my gosh. And he said, did you ask to go there? He got mad at me. I was just like,
now, what do you mean by ancient being?
By what?
What do you mean by an ancient being?
An ancient being. So there is something here that is ancient. A spirit. I don't know.
Elemental?
But a what?
Like an elemental?
No.
Yes, and it's been here forever. And I've had 2 or 3 people tell me. What?
An elemental is not a living being. It's all energy.
Right.
So,
okay.
So it wouldn't be an
So
ancient...
it doesn't know time.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Okay. That is what, okay. That is what I would describe it as. And they said, you need to perform a ceremony. Well, I'm Native American, but South, like Mayan. Okay. My great grandmother was 100% Mayan. and I came out looking like her quite a bit. But also part of this is learning what your DNA is. Your DNA is encrypted with your ancestors, like habits, or how can I describe it? So we were told that we disrespected this ancient person, elemental, whatever. And so I never went back until a couple of days ago, and I stopped, but I don't remember where this longhouse is. I took that path again, but man, I started feeling sick going down that pathway. And I was talking with my research partner today, and I asked her, I said, do you want to come back to the longhouse? Because I was going to get on my phone and do like put a pin drop so I could send it to her. Yeah. And then she could come out with her son, because they research together. And so I told her, I'll just send you the pin drop. But she said, I'm not going back there. The forest people don't live there. And I said, well, then who is it? And she said, how could you forget? We've determined it was probably a dog man's or something, but it's not the forest people. And I was like, okay, great. So now I can't go over there anymore. I was told by our other friend, just go around it.
You got your warning when you got sick. You're not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to cross that line. And you did it, and you got really sick. You got your punishment. You earned it.
I know. And maybe I can talk with you, like, if you can send me your information and I can talk to you on the phone, and we can do some more talking about that. So I'm not going to be going back there. And that's that. But there are dogmen here in the area, and Jessica Jones did remote view my property, and she found skinwalkers. So my younger son, Justin, before he was driving, these kids around here will get all warm up, like put all their Carhartts on, their layers. They will get on the four-wheeler, and they will go in the night. Like, this just makes me crazy. Me and my husband argued so much. No, he can't go. Yes, he can go. No, he can't. Yes, he can. So,
boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys.
Yeah.
Yes. So we had rules. So, for example, my son had this friend. You have to go down all these logging roads. Then he would cut through state land. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Where he had that pterodactyl experience, no fear, goes down.
That's boys will be boys.
Huh?
That is definitely a boys be boys. Once they conquer that fear, they'll keep going.
And a lot.
So he went to his friend's house, and it was daylight. And I said, if you come back tonight, call me, and I will drive to the foot of the mountain, because his friend lives on top of this other mountain, just this crazy route. I said, I will go down there. And he's like, Mom, no, me and Cameron will be fine together. And my son does have a shotgun that he will carry around with him, and it's very normal around here.
Well, you got bears. I mean, and people are hurt by moose all the time, so they've got to be prepared. It's not like a little fuzzy bunny rabbit's chasing you. It's
right. So on this one night, they left and did not call me. He forgot. So they stopped at the Grange, and they were sitting there. And when they're, my town is nothing but mountains everywhere and just a couple of buildings. So there's just a couple of lights out. So they stopped, and it's cold out. I don't remember what month it was. But they were sitting on the swings at the Grange, and his friend is not the sharpest tool in the whatever box. And they were swinging. They had the four-wheeler parked around this fence, and they were just sitting there talking. And then his friend looks up and goes, "Who's that?" It's a full moon. They see this person walking up. It crosses this bridge. This is an old bridge. So his friend crosses this person crosses the bridge, and it stops, and it looks over at them. And then my son looks, and then Cameron, again, not the smartest he stands up and goes, "Hey, yo, dude." And my son is like, what's going on? This guy puts out his hands like that and starts walking, running over to if someone's coming at me like this, I'm going to get my gun ready. Well, they had the gun on the four-wheeler, and they just hopped up. They got on the four-wheeler, and so this guy started coming over to them. He was here. He started coming over to them. They're here. So they got up, and they were taking off. So this guy started trying to meet them, and he ran. They hopped on the four-wheeler, and they took off down the other road that, 2 roads. This guy cut through a field, and he was keeping up with them. And they came to those 2 roads met. It was a yield. This guy reached out to them, and Cameron went like that. And my son, there was no face there. It was just black. And he was like right there. Now, I think he could have gotten them. I think it was more of a show scare thing. But guess what happened? My son floored it, and they crossed the county road, and then they were coming down 3 logging roads away from, it's this long road, and they looked behind. This guy crossed the highway and was chasing him. My son was going 45 to 50 miles an hour. These kids they did have on helmets. Again, it's cold. The helmets keep them warm. They had on their goggles. My son, one of them lost the goggles, and Cameron was holding the rifle, and then he had a backpack with the PlayStation stuff in it, and he's trying to hold on and do everything, and then my son stopped. My son was going to get that rifle and turn around and shoot this person, but he was gone. So
this thing was running 40 to 45 miles an hour.
Yeah, 30 to 40 miles an hour.
Doesn't that sound like something I told you about, Carl, here?
Yep. That you seen running down the side in a pasture. Yep.
Yeah, but you said you didn't know what it.
I still don't know what it was.
You didn't see if it was.
You still don't know what it is.
Or what?
It was biting.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so they came in, and they were all, "Oh, Mom, this is what happened." And then I'm like, so we got in the truck. I was pissed. You want to chase my kid? Asshole, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get a bullet from me. Right. Well, I had to calm down. And then I started to call the sheriffs because, I know I didn't call 911. I was calling dispatch, and I said, "Listen, some person over here." I'm like, what am I supposed to say? They're running. They have no face. It's I don't know, a skinwalker, or I don't. What am I supposed to say? So I just said that the kids were chased, and it was somebody just running really fast. And then they said, "Well, maybe it was someone on drugs." I said, "Listen, I want a sheriff to come out here. Tell them it's Cindy Goodbrake." And they're like, "Oh, okay, well," because I was adamant, because my county here, there is not a lot of sheriffs to go around. So right. I saw nothing. We came home, and I heard the story again, and nothing changed. I said, "So there's no face. He was keeping up with you. He had on a hoodie and some kind of jeans or pants and sneakers." So I talked with the sheriff, and they were going to do patrol. Okay. So I got no answers. And then a week later, it happened again. But this time there was 4 of them on 2 4-wheelers. They were, sledding or something, they were pulling, the kids on the sleds and back of the 4-wheelers. And here comes this person thing out of, I don't know from where, and starts chasing them again. And they're like, "What the heck?" But this time he doesn't keep chasing him. He just stops chasing him. And so now I'm so now I'm talking to some people. I'm talking with my elder.
Was it in the same area?
What?
Was it in the same area the second time?
Yes, the same area.
Okay, then it's protecting that area.
Okay. So, well, it's a road, and I don't know. So I don't know what it was. I just call it a skinwalker. Now, Jessica Jones, remote viewed. She has targets. She had 3 targets. One target was my place here. The second target was the event of the kids being chased. And the third target was this other area. Now, her description of her remote viewing the kids being chased, she could see it. And she said this thing was going after them. And they were scared. And she said, that was scary. And I said, well, what is it? And she said she was getting, it was a hologram out of the sky or something. I was like, what? A hologram? So she goes, I don't know. That's the data I'm getting. And then she sent me all the data, and it's just basically all of her, when she does her thing, her stuff that she writes down. So we call it the hoodoo hoodie, and we don't know. I don't know what it was. We never saw it again. Well, no, I take that back. The kids they were camping, and it was like March, but it's still cold. Like right now, it's halfway snowing. They were camping, and they were taking a nap, and it was like, I don't know, it was dark outside, like in the evening, and Cameron looks out the tent because he hears something, and he's like, what the heck? And then the other kids look out the tent, and they see a person in a hoodie, in sneakers, and no coat or nothing. But they didn't see the face because this person took off running, and they tracked the footprints, but they never found anything. And
then it's not a hologram if it's leaving footprints.
That's right.
Yeah, as I say, they got footprints, huh?
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
About all this. So, like Ron said, maybe it was whatever it was protecting its own area. Just trying to keep, scare people off so it can do whatever it wants. But how about, actually, my brain has just, you've spoke so much about stuff that it's hard to figure out exactly what I want to ask you.
You had a question?
I do, and I just lost it.
You lost it.
I lost it into the grandkid. Mr. Ruby.
Yeah.
You said in one of the messages you sent me that you had some stuff going on yesterday. Did you have stuff going on yesterday that you were telling me about in one of the messages?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, I was telling you that yesterday I had gone through that area again, remember? And I was sick yesterday for a little bit. I was kind of nauseous. I was dizzy just from taking the 4-wheeler down that path. I didn't stop though, but I'm not going back because my friend is telling me, Cindy,
yeah,
what are you doing? Don't go back there. I'm like, I'm not going to be chased out. She's like, you can stay in the area, but just don't go back. I'm not going back there. I said, okay. So in my data that I'm writing down with everything else, all the notes, I'm just going to be conclusive and say it's Dogman territory, and I'm not going back there.
That's not Dogman.
Has there been anything so far that you don't know? I mean, I know you've said Skinwalker and stuff like that. So so you're saying there's some stuff that you haven't been able to directly identify?
No, because there's other stuff, and like there's lights in the woods, but I've seen that quite a bit with Bigfoot sightings. I've had people here like camping out, and we've heard like, oh, and there's nothing there. We've seen orbs, I've seen lights. So I'm studying like the colors of the orbs and what they mean. Like that's one thing. I'm learning how to tap into my my sensory, my feelings, or like when Keela comes around, I can feel her, and then I can sense like something approaching. So there's different feelings, and I'm trying to like study to identify that, because I don't do like mind speak, but I receive feelings, like something will pop into my head. So if someone says, well, I do mind speak, well, to me, I'm hearing someone talk to me. I don't hear that, but I do receive messages. And but this is all new for me, because I had to figure out that all of this is related. And this area here is just really has not been studied. I had 3 other people clean this area remotely, and what they told me was crazy. They said, so the next town over is called Spirit Lake, Idaho. Spirit Lake is notorious for like stuff is always going on in that town. It's like weird. And the town has a history of why they called it Spirit Lake. Back in the days, there was the Nez Perce. There was a couple of different tribes, and this one tribe, the chief promised his daughter, who was in love with another brave, but her father promised her to this other tribal member to unite the tribes for peace. That was how they used to do it. Well, she didn't want to marry him. So her and her the brave that she loved, that her dad said you cannot marry, her father, they jumped off some rocks and committed suicide. So that's why the town is called Spirit Lake. And a lot of people have had Bigfoot sightings there that I've taken at the lake. There have been apparitions going across a canoe with a young maiden going across. There's different stories. So, it's all related. So these 3 people, when I was just all over the place, I was desperate. You guys don't know. Because when my son is coming to me and saying pterodactyls are walking up to him, when he's being chased by the Lord knows what, when he's on his dirt bike and then trees are going like this, I'm like, oh my, like, someone's got to give. So I just went out into the woods and I just prayed, because I pray to God all the time. And I do pray with my clan. I do pray with them, and they do recognize, I think, yeah, I have no proof of this, but I've had this talk with other tribes that will pray with their clan. And I know that sounds crazy. I'm just telling you what I do. So I was out there praying. I was desperate. Oh my gosh. So I was hooked up with these 3 people, and that they needed to clean the waters here, and they needed just to clean the area. So one of them at the same time was cleaning the waters. So in his remote way of doing it, he was cleaning the waterways, and the other 2 people found together. They found a portal, a big portal, and then a smaller portal within, and elementals, spirits, whatever, were coming in and out of this portal. And they said it was like a highway of just, and no one had dealt with it. No one had touched it. No one. And they said, you have tapped into this. I'm like, but I don't want to tap into it. I just want the stuff to stop. Just come on. And so they said that it's not me. I'm not that. We are who we are, and we live here, and that the Sasquatch are attracted to me because I know and they know, but everything else wants a part of that. So that's why everything is coming in, and, these crazy things are happening. So the guy that was cleaning the water, his hand got burned, like red, but it healed. It was red for, I don't know, a tiny bit, and then they were fighting this process. Whoever, they were fighting this process. So his hand kind of got red, and then the other two, it was a guy, I think his name is Joel, and a girl named Dee or Diana. And I have no way to contact these people. They contact me. They said that they lifted the portal and they just like put it in outer space. And I'm thinking, but without me saying it, she said, "You can think I'm crazy all you want." And I went, "Oh," and she said, "Yeah, I can reach your breath." And I was like, "This is a little too much." And she started laughing, and she's like, "I'm not mad at you. I get it, but I'm telling you, this is what has happened, and we're not done." So they were supposed to make some kind of protection necklace for him using different crystals or stones or whatever. And they checked in with me every 6 weeks, and they did like a run of the area. And then I never heard from them again. And then things started ramping up again.
So there's I hate to say this to you, but it's after 7, and we got another show that's getting ready to come on. And I would like to thank you, Cindy and Chanel, so much for coming on. I needed a break. I didn't really want to talk tonight, so I'm grateful that you came on, Cindy, and you talked for all of us, and I love it.
Sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. So thank you so much. You made it very interesting for everyone, and people like hearing your stories, and we'll have to have you come on again sometime and talk some more.
If anybody wants to find me, I'm on Facebook under Cindy Goodbrake. I am Sasquatch Sisters Northwest, but my Facebook page is gone. I don't know what happened to it, and I'm not going to make another one. So you'll just have to find me under my name. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And Chanel, where can everybody find you?
Facebook, Chanel M. My middle initial is M. Fletcher, just like my name.
And check out all her crystal shows when she has them. She posts them on there every time she does one. She's got some great inventory of crystals. Maybe you two should get together, because it sounds like Cindy needs some crystals to help her with her stuff.
I think she needs to talk to Joni more than me.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And I'd like to find out more about this Jessica Jones. Is she a medium?
I've heard of her. That name sounds
I will send you her link, okay? And I will send you the show she did on my property, okay?
Perfect. I would love to hear it.
Oh, that'd be
so
good.
Everybody, join us here next Tuesday night at 5 o'clock, and I'll let Carl go into that. There will be no Paranormal Pride next Monday at 7, because we're going to be busy doing some other things. But when I come back on the 17th, my guest will be Lena Townsend, a local medium here in Kansas area.
Very good.
Very good. Very nice lady. Known her probably longer than I've known anybody else in the paranormal. So we're going to enjoy that. And Carl, you take it away now.
Yeah. Next week on Paranormal Nation Radio, Not So Normal, I'll be doing some live with the ITC equipment. So everybody tune in. If you have questions, ask the spirits. We'll see what comes up. But
I might have to.
Hey, that's all right. But everybody check out the Billerites Network on Facebook, where we're at. Also check out Born TV on Rumble, where we're live at right now. And thank everybody. We had 8 people still watching us over there on Rumble. Thank them very much. I want to thank Things Network, where we was live tonight. And also I want to thank Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment. We're live over on theirs, and Japan Paranormal. So everybody stay tuned to the Billerites Networks. The Conservative View will be coming on here in about 45 minutes. And I'm sure they're going to talk about what went on today. So stay tuned to that show.
The Dog and Pony Show.
Yeah, it was a bunch of BS. And that's Sunday's show. No BS.
Yeah.
That was a cheap plug. But anyway, thank everybody for joining us. And we will see you next week here on Paranormal Nation Radio, Not So Normal.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.